So Siri says, first month of dating, how often should you meet each other per week? Well, it depends. It depends on how much you like each other, right? So if you're really into each other, it's one of those things where you just have to gauge it, right? And my suggestion is that you kind of follow his lead. So if he's like really into you, you can hang out a lot more often. However, you don't want things to go so quickly with you that you end up like hooking up with him really early, right? You want there to be some time because it takes time for you to really get to know who he is and for him to kind of pull down that guard and for him to stop idealizing you, right? And a lot of times guys will like have this fantasy of a woman and idealize her and be like, oh my God, she's everything I want in the world, right? But he's not actually falling in love with you. He's falling in love with an idea of you. And this happens a lot of times over text message if you guys haven't met up, which is why it's so important that you guys meet up, because the magic is not only in the middle, it's also in the meetup. And so you want to meet up and hang out, and it depends on how quickly he's doing things, right? If he wants to meet up, I would suggest not hanging out more than like 2 times a week, right? I mean, if you guys are really into each other and you're really falling in love, you can kind of play it by ear. But at the same time, you don't want, like I said, you don't want him to fall in love with this idealization of you, and you don't want to end up hooking up with him and getting overly attached, right? So part of it has to do with how quickly he's moving, and part of it has to do with you and how you connect to a guy and what you do and knowing yourself and your own emotions. And are you falling in love a little bit too quickly? And, is he promising you the world and all that kind of stuff? And if he is, you want to slow him down a little bit and make sure that he's actually getting to know the real you, and that you guys are opening up to each other in a real way and being vulnerable with each other and learning about each other and connecting with each other and you want to look for things, right? What's going on with him, right? Talking to him about his life and what happened in his previous relationships. I know a lot of dating coaches say don't talk about that. I disagree, because people live in patterns. And so what you're looking for is patterns, right? Because whatever patterns he's had, the past doesn't have to equal the future. However, for most people, the past does equal the future. And so you want to look for patterns on what he's done in his previous relationships, what he thinks about those women, how that ended up. Because whatever he looks at, it's very likely that there's going to be some kind of similar pattern going on with the two of you. And so you want to find out what that is, right? And find out where he's going with that and what he does and what kind of relationships he's had and what his blueprint looks like, right? So I talk about this thing called a relationship blueprint. And so you need to find out what his blueprint for being in a relationship looks like, what he thinks is normal kinds of behavior, whether that's talking all the time or not talking all the time, so that you don't have a lot of miscommunication here and you understand what's going on with him. And the way that you do that is by talking to him about his blueprints and what relationships look like to him, and asking him a lot of smart questions around that.